20th, 2025. I'm here with Xcelencia, and this is our normal Friday meeting. We've been doing this for, I don't know, 8 months, maybe a year now, and we've been doing it on Google Meet. And today, about an hour ago, I sent you a message and said, hey, do you want to do it live? And you were open to saying yes. So we're doing this in public and tossing it over to you. How are you doing? Usually how I like to start off my Friday meetings.
Yep.
In one word, how are you feeling today? And in one sentence, what do you need today?
Feeling great. A little tired though. That's two things, but there you go. And then today, so we've been doing these for probably a little over a year because El Niño Estrella was our first one, and that kicked off a few months before we launched it in April. So I think by now it's been over a year. It's just that these recent ones have been for Niño Maravilla, dot city, Maravilla City. So that makes a big difference. So
And then
our
what's the status
last
of the project right now?
Yeah, so our last meet, we already launched. So we did a little soft launch, then we did our official launch, and now we've been talking about for our last call. There's a couple little fixes, nothing big deal. We have the imagination page where when you go on the comment, you can go on the comment and share a Farcaster post or an Instagram post, share a couple thoughts, and we have a feed. After you do that, redirect you to a feed. So now we're working on cleaning that up, starting from scratch, so I can start sharing that. And then we also covered the idea of we have a planet on Maravilla City. If you haven't seen it, each planet represents and can do a couple different things. It's really interactive. And so we talked about on the metadata section, it's just static text, right? So I've been thinking a lot about adding something more interesting, like a chat bot, right? There's also the character in the center planet. So I thought it would be interesting if that chat bot is a bit representative of that character, and you can chat with it and talk about the project, the music. You can ask it about Laekis, past projects, and things that are upcoming. So that's kind of where we left off from our last conversation.
And on my side, on the dev side, I don't know if we've already talked about this, but at this point, I am the only dev that is working on all of the artist related projects. So in process, Maravilla, Heno are my hands. And so if things aren't moving as fast as they usually do, that's why. I think what is the status? So you said the imagination page we were going to update.
Yeah. So the idea is to clear out that feed.
Yeah, we wanted to delete all of the older data.
Yeah, exactly. We did a lot of test posts. We checked. You say, yeah, we got the Warpcast. We have some Instagram posts. I went ahead and added a couple of them as I've been kind of announcing updates or features or just the pop-up event that I did in Orlando a couple weeks ago. I've been sharing that in the imagination page. So the idea is if we can clear it up, then we can kind of just show people what they can do there and start
Right.
creating that social proof and that feed of everyone just sharing their thoughts as the music and the album is releasing. So it should get interesting over time.
Right. Cool. So that was one. The other one was metadata. You had mentioned this one. I was really interested to hear if you've thought about it more. So originally, like you said, we have the static text. How have your thoughts been evolving since the last time we met and you started mentioning a chat or a more intelligent experience?
Yeah, so I think originally, even before our last conversation, I was liking the idea of an agent being able to perform a task for you. So in this case, it would have been cool to have the agent collect, let's say the media, the song, the video of the week, or whenever I release or launch. So I thought that to be interesting. But I think the chatbot is interesting because I'm kind of diving into character IP and I'm developing the character, El Niño Maravilla or El Niño in general. And I'm like, that could be an interesting, yeah, it's just a chatbot, but I think it's a good kind of leeway or intro, especially for a lot of people that like whether they're my fans or collectors and they haven't really seen anything like this. I think there's something interesting there where they can just chat with it about myself, my career, what I've done, ask about the project, ask about the site, like what can I do here? For those that like don't want to venture out and explore on their own, they can kind of ask it just simple things like that. So yeah, there's those two things I've been thinking about. Can it perform tasks on behalf of fans and collectors? and then the other one is just a very thing.
The tasks on their behalf would be the collecting action that you originally mentioned.
Right. Like I know we've seen this on X where someone says, "Hey, collect this post or collect this for um, or whatever it may be." I'd be an interesting chat and just prompt it out there like, "Hey, collect the latest drop on Maravilloso City or something," and
Mm,
it automates that, right? I think that could be pretty interesting.
interesting. So similar to like a banker, clanker,
Right,
those.
right, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, so banker, clanker. I feel like I've seen something else. I can't think of it right now. But yeah, just kind of like being able to do that. So
What
I
Go ahead.
sorry, like this was a while back. I was playing around with the agent kit on bass, and I had I connected the GPT to the bass with a wallet, and I told it to create an ERC20. I thought that was interesting, and that kind of flipped the switch. I was like, okay, if it can create, it could also collect on behalf of a fan or a collector. So that kind of kicked it off. And then just thinking about the entertainment aspect, it fits, right? I'm an artist, musician, so we can play around with that. And it's simple, but I think it's unique to what I'm doing.
Not on my side as a dev, I'm especially interested in seeing more musicians that have an existing following like you leaning into agentic interactions and agentic albums, because it is getting to the point where musicians like you can create this type of thing. It's going to require someone with imagination like you. And so you saying like, these are ideas of how I want to integrate it. This is the long-term vision. This is intentionally how my experience is going to be unique and different as a result of having this, that separates it from even the previous albums that you've already released.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got to get those two things done. Were there other priorities that we still haven't rolled out on the tech side in terms of the current experience besides the imagination clearing out of old data and the metadata, this section starting to integrate a chat with an AI that represents the Maravilloso brand?
Yeah, I think those two. I think sorry, on the merch planet, so the redirect, I think it's just a redirect. I don't think the domain is live. There's a new one, yeah. So we'll have to add the new one there as I keep tweaking the store, which should be it's live, but it's not where I want it to be right now. But I think having it ready for that moment for launch, I think it could be just a quick little thing to add.
So on my side, I just got to change the link.
Yeah, just change the redirect link. Yeah, I thought it was redirecting, but it's not doing that any longer.
So right now it's going to shop Xcelencia.com. Where should it go?
So it should be lax.shop. That should be the. I don't know if it'll come out under construction or something like that, but or very simple. It should be live, the domain and the hosting. So let's see. Yeah. Okay.
It's already looking better.
Yeah, yeah. So we're working on it. We're waiting on some designs and a couple other things. Those are the hats that sold out at the pop-up event. Like everyone loved them. Yeah,
Yeah,
the quality, it's simple. But I got some sick designs coming in, so I'm excited for that. So right now it's basically just like a little landing page just to have something out there. But yeah, that's simple. You know what? I've been thinking a lot about the Spotify planet. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have anything. I think that could be a interesting one to play with, or ask people that are in my chats or fans and stuff like, what should this do? Because like just having it open up Spotify or redirect to Spotify kind of takes the purpose away, from the
Mhm.
experience of the site, in my opinion. Because we have the music player, and once I start releasing the music, like you can go there, whether it's a preview, a tease, or the official song. So I think that's more exciting, where you can just you know pop that open, listen to the new stuff before it comes out. But again, that could be a different another conversation, another call.
There's a lot you can do with the Spotify, whether you want to just go, the easiest is just embeds, and we can
Yeah,
just do
yeah,
embedded music right here so that people don't leave and they'll probably just hear a portion of the song unless
yeah.
we include login buttons. And then if we include login buttons, you've got whole bunches of different stuff you can be doing.
Yeah, I
Cool that
think
you're leaving the space open. I appreciate you leaving it there, like
yeah,
creatively.
for sure. I think two things come to mind now that you mentioned that. Um, a lot of people have asked me like, the catalog, right? The past songs, the past things that I've done, the releases. So that could be interesting. And then going back to the chatbot real quick, I realized like there's probably a new base, whether it's new collectors or people that are kind of interested in what I'm doing, or they haven't met me. And so like I feel like having the chatbot, they can get way more context than just like that information there. So they could be like, okay, this design is cool, this experience is cool, but who is Laekis? Like, and
Right.
what's a quicker way than just like chatting with the bot and saying like, who is Laekis? And they don't have to DM me or anything.
Do you mind if I pull up Recoup and demo where my mind's at in terms of filling in those questions like you're saying now?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
So you said like who is Laekis was an example question, or did you say something else about like the tracks?
Yeah, I think both. I think who is Laekis? I think that's pretty straightforward because first of all, I did the name change, but then second of all, if it's a new crowd getting to know me, whether they discovered the mini app and they're like, wait, who's this? Right? I want to learn a little more. This could be a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I gotta update the name on this profile to be Laekis so that it knows, oh yeah, Laekis is who we're talking about right now. Because I've
Yeah, and
still
it should.
got this as,
Nice.
actually, I'm curious. We've already done, actually, let me delete this artist because you've done a rebrand. Delete this guy. And then I'll make a new one and I'll just start it with Laekis so that. So how I'm thinking we'll do it is we'll just create a new artist and then the artist will represent the export that we put into the chat. So we can just customize the information for this specific agent.
Yeah.
And then we can embed the agent inside of your chat and then continue to tweak it so that it feels custom just to you. Like whatever we got to change so that it. Okay, there we go. Got rid of that guy. Now
Nice.
create a new one.
And it should once it's searching for profiles, the updated Spotify one should definitely populate because
I
when I
think we
did it,
already did this together and it did catch it last week.
yeah, I've been thinking a lot about like the SEO side of things, but when it comes to LLMs, and really finding and capturing everything, right? Like that seems to be something that artists could probably start working on as well, just kind of figuring that.
It's something I've appreciated doing with the musicians I'm working with. Like I try to throw you in often, I try to throw Heno in often, and I try to throw Latasha in often, just to see like how is it working for the musicians that I work with.
Yeah.
Laekis, now we've got your name correct.
Yeah.
So like this is an example of, okay, when a musician does a rebrand, how do we make, I mean, is it fine that we have to delete the agent and then create a new one, or do we want to be able to make it so that the agent's able to update itself and
For
be
sure.
aware of the rebrand on its own?
Nice.
So even now, I should be able to just go into a new chat and say, who is Laekis? And we should just get a different answer because the name is correct.
Yeah. I learned that so Apple Music doesn't honor artist name changes. So I think they create a new profile. So it kind of starts me from scratch. Otherwise, I lose all of the data and everything that I've built on there using the previous name. So that kind of got complicated. But again, if the Spotify populates, if like other press articles, things, Wikipedia, yeah, the songs
All
coming up.
this is with Laekis. So I think your LLM, personally, I think your LLM presence, it was able to find your new Spotify. We
Nice.
got all of your albums. Now searching the web. So here's results back from web search.
Nice.
Professional, Calito Gabriel Bravo Serrano, Puerto Riqueño, songwriter, born originally known as Xcelencia, born on this date, yada yada. We hit an error.
Got some sources there, some citations.
But this is already, like you were just saying, going from this
right.
to
Right.
now we can show you, okay, now we can show you all the songs. Now we can do web search. I got to
Exactly.
figure out how to get it to stop crashing, but it's a different level of an experience.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. that definitely inspired it. I'm like, that could be a little bit more, you know, some context, and right there, right where no one has to go out from Maravilla City to
Exactly, onto
learn
your
about
site.
myself.
No
Yeah.
branding of anybody else. Like what I would love is for this to be a trial of how this, because all the code in Recoup is open source. And
Okay.
so the goal is making this so that this can continue to expand to make it so that the work I'm doing with Recoup supports the work I'm doing with you.
Right.
The work I'm doing with you comes back to supporting the work I'm doing with Recoup, and like it all being able to interconnect in a way that feels like you don't depend on it. We can fork Recoup and use it for Maravilla and
Nice.
make it so that there's no branding, no association with anything else, and just fully built on your own domain.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really cool. It just adds to the experience and keeps everyone there engaged.
What other things do you want to cover while we're here?
We got that. I'm still curious, like on the inventory. So let's say if someone, for context, if someone collects, they go on here and they collect the latest song or video, whatever I decide to kind of mint and put out there. We have this inventory that redirects you to your collection, but you should be able to not only see what you just recently collected and that's displayed, but it should also kind of populate other things that you've collected from X in the past. Is that where we left it off, or is it just the latest things?
It's a good question.
Because I think on my end, I'm seeing things that I've like minted that I've created. But I'm curious if another collector goes on here, they go to inventory. I should get that out there so people can try that out and see if it kind of populates stuff that they've collected from me in the past, whether it's Zora Sound.
If they're showing on your side those tokens,
So I'm seeing, I think these are mostly like Zora things that I've done, like these little visualizers I played around with one time, like a music video.
this is what I'm seeing on my side.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. So I'm curious if like,
You're saying we're missing some stuff.
yeah, I think so. Like I think that's interesting. I always see this conversation when it comes to NFTs around, which I love that we did on the 6551, where you can like, it displays what you actually collected.
Mm,
It shows the images, the visuals, and all that stuff. And I
right.
see a lot of people talking about like, oh, you know, NFTs need a better display, or music needs a playlist, or whatever it is. Um, and so that's kind of what inspired inventory, is for people to be able to see what they've collected in the past and what they are recently kind of collecting. It's a good way to display it, I guess.
Do you remember that domain for the last album?
Yeah, so it's Estrella.city.
Mint closed.
And it should, I wonder what was Imagine. It was Estrella.city, / Imagine. And that had the actual, which is still so cool. Like, we got the music player on here. Let's see when you pull it up. So
Imagination. Imagine, just like you said.
just imagine, yeah. So like, this is so cool to me still, because if you collect it, it redirects you here.
What do you, Phantom Wallet?
Yeah, it did that to me a while back.
Not even using Phantom Wallet, but I don't know. Interesting.
Just open like IPFS or something.
Did it do the same thing for you?
No, not now, but it's done that before.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, there we go. So once that loads, we have this. So if you collect it, it takes you here, and you have the music player. So you press, let's say you press play, then you have, boom, all the songs that you collected, the entire album's there. And then as you keep going forward with the arrows on the carousel.
Oh, these arrows.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the 6551 display. So you see all of your collectibles there.
Yeah.
Everything that was a part of that, and everything that I airdropped as well.
And when you click on it, it opens the token. This is a great point of reference. So is your specific feedback that the inventory page on Australia on Maravilloso.city needs to contain all of these tokens that are inside
It
of the
could be.
6551?
I mean, I think that would be cool, especially for those collectors that are like, what I want to see everything that I got from X that I've supported over the last, 4 or 5 years.
Right.
I think that could be interesting, but also like the latest one, right? So they go on Maravilla.city, I put out a new song or a new video or something, and let's say they collect it. I want them to be able to see that on the inventory. So they don't have to go to OpenSea or like, on their wallet. They can see it there as well. Could be interesting.
Yeah, I think this personally for me, this is a great point of reference because the fact that I can click on all these is like, okay, I now have the contract address. I have any token ID info that I need, and this is a very specific list. You don't have to go out and make another Excel spreadsheet. This information already exists, and I can
Right, right.
bridge all this info over into the main site. Okay, so also that I'll be prioritizing. Let's keep going. Let's keep filling the list, and we'll use the last couple of minutes, and we'll go into prioritization mode. But so far, I've got the imagination page needs to remove all the test records.
Yeah.
Metadata. We want to talk about agents getting a chat in there. Character IP. Collect tasks on your behalf. Banker clanker. Merch needs to update to lakeys.shop.
Mhm.
And we want the inventory page to have parity with Astrasia.city inside of the 6551 contents. What else do we need to add to the list?
Honestly, those are the things that stay on my mind. I think those are like the priorities to me, and that I've gotten feedback for, or like just thinking it through. Those are the ones that make the most sense for the experience as we keep going. Like, so like, for example, in a few weeks, I'll release the first song. And then from there, I'm just going to continue like, telling the story, sharing the journey, documenting stuff, the videos, just everything. And I think at that point, it would be great to have that. Because then there's a lot more to do, right? And like now I can say, hey, go to Maravilla City. My latest song is there before it actually, releases on Spotify or YouTube or whatever it may be. So that's what I'm most excited about, is like actually releasing and then having people go on here and be able to listen, share their imagination, check out what they've collected, if they collect, interact with the chatbot and stuff. I think that would be perfect.
When you were saying that of like updating the site to include new media, my
Mhm.
mind went, how can I not be a bottleneck in you updating some of those things? And I remember that V0 has recently made it so you can connect to GitHub repository. And it made me ask the question, could you go into V0,
Mhm.
have one of your projects be connected to this main, not this site, but the Maravilloso.city site,
Mhm.
so that you can say, please update if we have a pop-up or
Right.
any aspect of this, can you update the link to be this new thing? And you can just go into V0 instead of having to tell me, and it does the thing. You can verify it right there in V0. And
Yeah.
then you click open pull request, and it opens a pull request, and then you send me a text and say like, hey, I've got an update ready for your review. Or you just ship it directly to main and say, hey, I shipped the thing.
Right, right. That could be interesting. And like, just going back, there was a couple of things for the site that I shared with you that I did on V0, whether it was a UI thing or UX thing.
This as an example.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, actually. I'm like, I want this. It called it an inline pop-up preview so that people can see what's the latest drop or what they're actually collecting, which I think was great to have on there, man. I mean, so we can keep playing around with that, especially if I get really going and I'm active and I'm like minting things or like sharing a lot of things. I think that could be a great idea.
With the goal being reducing the time between you have a moment in the campaign and you being able to maximize your reach throughout your stack to bring your vision to life in the time that you need it to be brought to life, and not have to wait and depend on someone else who might not be
Absolutely.
able to move in your, because I wrote this down before. My goal is to maximize your campaign success in alignment with Xcelencia La Quise's career goals. And so
Yeah,
like,
that's perfect. Yeah.
if I the goal is also to make sure that I'm not a bottleneck in anything that you want to be doing.
Okay. No, that sounds good. I think that's fair, and it gives you the time and space to keep working on all these other projects, and everything kind of works together in its own way. So I'm with that. I'm with that.
I'm glad you're leaning into the AI. I think it opens up a lot more opportunities for you and I to continue to do things, knowing that you're leaning into it on your own experience and that you're thinking about it. There aren't too many musicians that already have an established career that are actively stepping into it. I feel like the average industry reaction right now is anything related to AI. You're either a new artist,
Yeah.
or for any existing artist is typically like pushing away and trying to put up a moat and trying to not, and you saying like, how can I get my stuff indexed into LLMs, and thinking along like the growth of SEO feels like being turn of the mental model.
Definitely. That's kind of why I shared that thought about like the generative music and audio is like literally tip of the iceberg. And I think some people are staying there, which is completely understandable. But I think as they kind of go deeper and realize like, wait, this thing could, help me accelerate certain things so that I can focus on those things I really want to actually focus on and create music and share my story. I think that's going to be an unlock for a lot of people. And using it in interactive ways, whether it's entertainment, whether it's internally for your tasks or your project management stuff that like I've done it over the years, but now over the last week I had a huge unlock as I'm going to release the project. I'm like, wait, I'm like doing these things in a few hours to a day versus spending weeks on it, just kind of dreading it. Because it's not just like the time that it takes, it's also you start dreading it, so you start procrastinating. So that's what kind of adds to the time. But yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do with it and keep sharing that process, right? Like I'm excited to share some things that I'm doing that I think artists are gonna be like, oh wait, you can do that as well. I think that's gonna be exciting.
If I only get one thing done on this list, what would you love? What is essential to see done before the next time we talk?
I think playing around with the chat bot, going from this static text metadata to something more interactive and informational, I think it's definitely priority.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah.
My very next call is with Sid, so that'll be a priority for me to open up the call. Is how do I just fork recoup and spin it down and throw it into Xcelencia? Do we prioritize a feature? And I'll kick off that meeting talking about this to make sure that I'm aligning the build that I'm doing next week with that. What other things do you want to be talking about in terms of your rollout? We're wrapping up on time, so like we focused, I think, a lot on tech. Are there other things that you've been doing after your RL event that you want to like update us on?
Man, so the pop-up went great. We talked about it from our last call. I got the response that I wanted. So that was great. Everyone loved the music. They were like, not to discredit what you've done, but this is like incredible compared to that. So I got a lot of that feedback. Excited about that. And just sharing the story, man. I have a lot of things to tell. And I'm gonna be putting that out there, in video format or whatever. A lot of music, and kind of bringing it all together with this experience. Like I shared it, but I always say like when you release the album or the app or whatever, that's day one, right? Like now is when the work begins. So I'm excited to share more as I keep going.
What do the next 7 days of work look like? By the time I talk to you next week, what do you think? What do you think the next steps are going to be?
Yeah, so I'm focused on context right now and storytelling and telling the story of the album, the music, and myself, things that I've done, things that I want to do, and just putting it out there for the world to see. So that's what I've been on.
Thank you all for tuning into the first time that Keith and I have gone live on one of these meetings. If you got any value out of this, please give it a like, repost it so that every other artist can see, and